welcome to another video on Eczema Phoenix, where we learn how to transform the way we live with eczema. Welcome to what is the 5th video in my series of Sherlock Your Skin series, and today we're going to be investigating the role of clothing and fabrics as a factor in aggravating our eczema. For the most part, I find that certain scratchy fabrics like wool and acrylic are really irritating because their texture is just so fibrous and so scratchy that they can be very itchy for people to wear who have more sensitive skin. I really like other natural plant-based fabrics like cotton, hemp, and bamboo. They're very breathable, they're cooling, which is really good for keeping the skin aerated and to not let moisture and too much humidity collect in like the creases, which can be very irritating and induce more sweating and more itching for people with eczema. When it comes to handmade fabrics like polyester, that seems kind of neutral. I think if the weather is pretty cold and you do want to remain warm, it's a safe fabric to wear, safe enough. If it's a really hot day, it will help with wicking if you sweat, but I feel like it also traps some of the heat and is not as breathable as cotton if it's like super hot, humid weather. So that's something worth experimenting with, but polyester itself seems to be neither here nor there. And it just depends again on the climate that you're in. In terms of bedding, I really like cotton, and satin has been pretty safe to use as well. Felt and wool products again are quite itchy, and if you do want to use a blanket that is made with those fabrics to keep you warm but you don't want it to touch your skin and make it itchy, sometimes I will have like a lighter cotton blanket that I put on myself before putting that second blanket on for warmth, and so that way you can get the best of both worlds. You can remain aerated somewhat while still staying warm without having a super itchy fabric on you that will keep you warm. So that's something to consider. You can just sort of have a barrier with the fabric that you know does not irritate you as a liner, and line your skin to protect you from the other fabric you might wear because it might be in a really cute jacket design, or there's just a really nice blanket that someone gave you and you don't want to waste it. I don't have personal experience with this next thing I'm going to talk about, but I have heard of people being allergic to certain type of dyes that are red or black, and if it's red dye, I can call upon my education in makeup artistry in that red dyes in that industry at least are usually made with crushed beetle juice, which is usually can also be called carmine or cochineal extract, crimson lake, Carmen Lake. And so I actually should have mentioned that in my cosmetics video. So hopefully you're watching this entire series. That's a coloring ingredient that can be very irritating for people with sensitive skin. A little bit more cosmetic stuff. So yeah, anything that the color red is used to make can usually be an irritating factor unless that company like Pacifica specifically states that it's from another source like cranberry extract or beets. I honestly don't know that much about the fabric industry, but I know that if red dye is an irritant, that it could be because it may be sourced from what is basically crushed dead beetles' blood. And so, I mean, that doesn't sound like a very appetizing or attractive thing to wear anyway. But there's that, and then also black dye. I've heard on Instagram some people saying that could be an irritant for them, so they can't wear black clothing because of that. And if I remember correctly, I believe some fabric dyes are made of coal tar, and tar is a very harsh ingredient to put on the skin, so I could theoretically see why that would be irritating. And if anyone has any further information on that on a scientific level, I would love to learn more about it because you can never stop learning. When choosing fabrics to use for your bedding, for your clothing, and anything else you put on top of your skin, keep those things in mind. See if you notice any difference in changing the fabrics, or maybe be open to wearing looser sizes to allow for more breathability and so that sweat and dirt don't collect if the fabric's very close to your body and could potentially cause those sort of irritating factors. Also, some clothing have really irritating seams, like just where things are connected. That rubbing on your skin, like sometimes I experience that with certain types of underwear, where just like the seam where the two pieces of fabric are sewed together can kind of bunch up, and kind of like how this part like is bunching up here, and that can just be like really irritating when you're moving around. I advise not to wear too much tight clothing unless you've found a way to make that work, or you're wearing really wicking underwear that absorbs all of your sweat, prevents very humid environment wherever and you've found a way to wear that stuff comfortably without it aggravating or causing any irritation. That's mainly the main thing I have to say about clothing and fabric. If you or anyone you know has any further information about this and how it can relate to preventing eczema or preventing further eczema, I would love to learn more. Please share your information and links and resources, comments below, and let me know if you've had any experiences with certain types of products or fabrics, or know of any companies that specifically target people with sensitive skin with their clothing lines. I only know of a couple of clothing companies for people with eczema by people with eczema. I mean, anyone could wear their clothing, you don't have to have eczema to wear clothes, but you know, they make them people in eczema in mind and just being comfortable in your skin in mind a little bit more. I think one is like primarily like a t-shirt or long sleeve company. I'll find his information, but I know it's something like Eczema Wear, or Eczema Clothing Co. or something like that. And the other one is the Sun Kimonos on Etsy, and her kimonos are like super duper cute. The owner does have eczema herself, and her story is that she actually started just wearing kimonos around the house because that was the only thing she could wear comfortably without worrying about oozing and blood and all the things that come with having chronic long-term eczema. Rashes can create, and sometimes you bleed and you stick to your clothing, and that can be very uncomfortable, which is another reason why having breathability, movability, and not too much tightness in your clothing when you have eczema is super duper important. And you can experiment with that, and you could see if different fabrics aggravate or help your eczema more. You can experiment with different types of sizes and see if that helps. It might be worth noting if the clothing that irritates you the most, if it's not made with an irritating type of fabric, but it is a certain color, like a cotton shirt, but it maybe have a bunch of cotton shirts and they're all fine except for the red and black ones for some reason, and maybe it might be worth seeing what that isolating factor is, and in that example that would be the color and the dye used to make those particular shirts. It might be the differentiating factor, and it might be worth doing more research into that, what it's made with. You might contact the company of the shirt who made your shirt and ask them directly about their sourcing and their dyeing process and ingredients. I hope that has given you some inspiration and ideas for how to investigate your wardrobe to see if it could be something else that you could look into to improve your chances of healing your eczema and making your skin as comfortable as possible to live in. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in my next video tomorrow, which will be about the connection between emotions and eczema. We are almost at the finish line of this Sherlock Your Skin series. I hope the wheels are turning. I hope that things are clicking, light bulbs are going off. Thank you again, and I will see you tomorrow. Bye.